Hi Lorenzo, welcome to my little studio podcast about somatic experiences, tantra, sacred sexuality, digital de-armoring or de-armoring. My guest here today, Lorenzo Sternquist from Sexsibility Festival. Welcome.
Thank you.
So you are here over a few days visiting me here in my space, and we wanted to create some content like this podcast talking about God and the world and who we are and what we do, and mainly as well that we are both somatic consent ambassadors, so we just like sharing the gifts of communication, consent, and transformation with the world. And we have a specific gift to the world. We want to provide a specific offering, a package for people to get deeper into it.
Yeah. So I was thinking to talk a little bit like why we want to offer this to the world, basically, like what it means for us, this kind of work, and why we are really want to share it. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm a consent geek. Like when it came into my world the first time, I remember I did a training where somebody gave me just a graphic of the wheel of consent, and then I recognized it. Well, I can go in action for myself, and all I need is permission. So when that was landing in my body, I was just, this is it. You know, I was just dedicated, and then I met Betty Martin 2014, did the training, and I came before I did the Betty Martin work in person. I was presenting it at Sexsibility in where was that? On the 2013 on this camping ground on Öland, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I think that was one of my first presentations that I have done. And you came to this workshop, and what was your experience the first time when it arrived in you?
I remember I get closer and closer to when you were drawing it. So in the end, I was sitting like 2 meters from it and just like really sucking it in completely. So this was the first time I had ever heard about this consent work, and you were presenting it at the Sexsibility Festival. And for me, it was like, suddenly felt like I had the language to talk about experience that I have in relationship with other people, like how to interact, and when it feels good, when it works, and if it doesn't feel good, like how to navigate in this, and also to like realize why in certain situations it doesn't feel good. It's just up to that point, some situation has just been a feeling or a sensation in my body. So there's something here that doesn't work, but what is it? And suddenly I could realize, it has to be, it was not clear. Was this touch for me or for the other person? It's like someone is saying like, hey, can I give you a massage? And I'm saying yes to that. And so it's consent, but why doesn't it feel good, Something is off here, but I don't know. I didn't understand why. And with the consent, it felt like I realized that even though the question was, do you would like to have a massage? And I'm saying yes to that. When it happened, I realized maybe it was more for the other person. And it was not really clear what kind of massage it was. Is it a friend massage, or is it a sensual massage? Is it a sexual massage? What happened later on? So there's a lot of questions, and I feel like it was not clear for me. And with the consent work, it becomes more clear who is doing, who is it for, what is the different dynamics, the shadows, are this person or me operating from the shadow side of it, where it's not based on consent and so on. And of course, this is, I think everybody have an experience how that feel. But how do you talk about that?
Yeah, it's so fascinating, the language that comes with it, and we'll just go deeper into that. The interesting thing is, so that was your first connection with consent work in this way, so that was the first time it landed somehow.
Yeah.
So the typical click, I just actually saw that. I remember you sitting there back then. And I remember it from this perspective. I was still very dilettantic in presenting it, even though I loved the way how I did it, but that was fascinating. But it's not like you have got an injection and then it was there. So you have as well a long history of really embodying it. So tell me, what's your history of learning the consent work? How did you went in? Who have you been training with? What was your way to your expertise where you're today?
So you mean before I hear this presentation from you, or
no,
after?
Afterwards. So
afterwards.
What was your way?
So that was the start, the aha kind of thing, and then I get into this quite a lot. I was studied with this with Betty Martin. I went to Betty Martin's webpage, and she has some clips there, some videos. And I was amazed that it was so few people that have seen these videos. You know, this was also like, this is so great and could change people's life. It changed my life a lot. Like, it was really this kind of feeling like life-changing event. But then I saw like, oh, there's so few people have seen her videos. What's going on here? What's this missing, you know? And then I know that you were also taking this on to really started to spread her work, and you met her the year after, and I also started to teach with her, organizing workshops, doing her longer training, the like a pro training for several times.
You came to like a pro training in LA, I remember.
Yeah. But that was not my first one.
Okay. Which one was your first one?
The first one was in Sweden, the one that I actually organized, and then she has been to the Sexsibility Festival also, and then so I've been doing several of this, and then I did the year training with her also. And when I was in the Bay Area, it was in this like a pro in the US. I was hanging out with you and with Betty, and it was also visit her in Seattle, where she's living. And then you started to take another turn with this, and started to create the somatic consent. And I remember when the first time you were talking about that, we were in Copenhagen, and I was at I believe the first consent lab that ever have happened. And so I get also more interested in your point of view of it, and I think there was a lot of things that, for me, lot of sense, making a lot of sense what you bring to the table. So then I also were talking a lot with you because we are friends and colleagues, but also took your year training. So and then I have a little bit of my understanding and my take on it. I haven't created a new version of it, but I do have things that I sort of bring to the table from that work also, and I use it a lot in my work. I had done it in workshops, but also when I'm having the festival and other events. I always have this as a base. Even though sometimes I'm not even talking about it, or like people know that this is something I use. It's in the background for everything I do.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. You know, back then, when I started to take it on and inviting her to Europe and sharing it everywhere, I just became a little bit like a consent robot.
Yeah.
And a little bit rigid in a way. So that was, you know, I just remember back then I said, it's like this is an application for life for every situation.
Yeah.
And if there is no consent, then this is a shadow. And I have not seen it in all implications in life. I was just literally putting it like in a little box and created literally like for many people like a weapon. You know, it's just like, yeah, that's true. If you have now looked at me, I have not given you permission, you have not asked, so therefore you are a perpetrator. It's like, well, so I created some little, you know, this perception around that, and we started to communicate about that there needs to be other perspectives, and we have over the years, again and again, kind of checked in with our experiences and how and where and when and where to apply it. And many people don't know that the Wheel of Consent comes from the 3-minute game, from a BDSM practice from Harry Fedis.
Yeah.
And it is about power, intimacy, and surrender. And the raw version of it is, when I have permission, I give you my gift of power. And that's a complete different application than actually as it occurs in the Wheel of Consent. But just maybe you just share a few words about how you see it, the difference that needs to be talked about. So the willing and want to on the giving and receiving side, because this is just so important for people to understand that this is not a rigid, in the box living dynamic. It needs to be functional and fluid.
Yeah. I think one thing is there is a journey around that, as you said. It started with the 3-minute game with Harry Fedis, and then Betty took it, have her point of view of it, then you have your point of view of it, and for me then my point of view also, it's like I'm coming from as a creating the sexsibility coach training and that work around sexuality. And then the tantric perspective of things, and then the consent. And for me, that becomes like a blend of all these things together. The tantric, what I call the tantric perspective of things, and sexuality, and then consent, the consent work. So it's getting more and more coming together, sort of. As one. So this has been a journey also. And I think that when I look at the consent work and it's also who am I talking to and who I have in the room. So in the beginning, if someone is very new to it, I don't even draw the Wheel of Consent or the Somatic Consent, the social engagement system or anything like that. It's more talk about. There's 4 different ways of interaction, and that's a start for some people, and that maybe is enough, especially if you have a shorter workshop. But then you can deepening it in. And then you find that there is nuances to this. And one thing is that the giving part is always connected with what you are willing to give. In the consent work, there's other times in life where you are hugging someone, for instance, both are giving and receiving, and at the same time everybody is happy, there's nothing to look into. But if you want to look into this more deeper, you have to separate these different parts. One is giving, one is receiving, one is doing, one is let the other person do something. So this is, you look at the different parts separately. And you have the giving is you are willing to give something. And then when you are receiving, this is what you want. But and that creates these 4 different interactions, and it's a good start. But there is also situations where you actually want to give something and you're willing to receive. So, for instance, in the BDSM world, that is when you are submissive and dominant, for instance. The submissive one is the one that want this to happen, Maybe they want to serve the other person, and the other person is dominating and tell them what to do, and they want to serve. Or having a, slave kind of relationship with someone. So they want to give. So they maybe ask or initiate this, like, hey, can I do this? Because I want to give. And the other person's like, I don't know, I'm not really so much into it. But please, can I give? And yeah, okay. I receive your gifts. I'm willing to receive. So there is also this kind of dynamic. So that actually creates 4 additional. So then instead of these 4 different interactions, there is 8 different interactions. But that is not always something I talk with people in the beginning. So let's start with these 4 first. And that maybe there will be someone in the room that is into the BDSM world, and saying like, yeah, but this doesn't make sense to me because, I like this dynamic with submission and dominance. Like, how is this fitting in? And I'm sometimes saying like, I have an answer for you. Let's take this after, come to me and I will explain to you how this works. And then I talk about this and they say, oh, okay, now I get it. Now it makes sense, So it's a little bit like where you start off and where people are. And and it's also when it comes to the shadows, where is in the wheel of consent, there is 4 different types of shadows connected to the 4 different ways of redirection. But for me, there is more to it, because when you are having an interaction, so maybe someone is, let's say if I'm massaging the other person or doing something for the other person, and they give this for them, yeah. The shadow would be either if I'm not willing to give this gift to the person, but I'm doing it anyway. So this is you are in the shadow, I will be in the shadow then. And that will happen in my body. The effect of that will happen in my body. I will feel like I'm doing something that is not good for me, and it will affect my body. But it could also be that I'm doing something for the other person or on the other person, to the other person, that they don't want. And in that case, I would go over their boundaries. And I will be also in the shadow. But for me, it's a different kind of shadow. If I'm doing something towards me or if I'm doing something towards someone else. But as it is in the wheel of consent, it's coming in the same category. But for me, it's a little bit different if I slap myself in the face or if I slap someone else in the face. I'm both in the shadow. I'm doing something that's not good. but one is affecting my body and the other one is affecting their body. And I think that's the huge difference.
It's so interesting what you say, and the point is that when people look at the dynamics of consent from a certain fixed perspective, they are influenced by their point of view.
Yeah.
And then it's just hard to get another point of view in when this is kind of a locked, attached way of looking at stuff. And then the question is where to start and loosening that up, kind of detaching the dynamic, and then people asking, where to start. And that's it's something that Betty Martin need credit for, and I really love the way how she came up with the distinction between the direct and indirect route, because I was stuck in the indirect route. So when I do something meaningful, then the other person has a good time, then I have a good time. And so your pleasure is my pleasure. And I was really stuck in that perspective. And I came to her workshop in Hawaii and learned it through a lime, where I went in action and the lime didn't give back anything. And then everything felt in place and I detached my perception. And this is where I recommend everybody to start with. So what's your experience with a direct route when people getting it? How do you teach it? What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, so for me it was also this aha experience, and in my first workshop with Betty Martin, like a pro. And my feeling of it was like when it clicked, sort of, it feels like my whole hand, it was like opening up. I could feel the hand become more sensitive. It was like on an energetical level, it feels like my hands becomes like 3 times bigger. And it was like, whoa, what is happening? It was boom, something opening up. And at the same workshop, I also experienced it from the other side, where there was this guy who has been massaging people for 20 years or something. So he had worked with people and have his hands on other people for many, many years. And we did this beautiful exercise where you're going back and forth. You touch an object and you feel that, wow, okay, so this is for me. I'm doing this for me. And then he was touching my hand, and the idea was to have more of this feeling that he was doing it for his sake, you know, the gift was for him. But I could see as soon as he started to touch me, he started to work. So he started to massage my hand. And I could feel it. I could see it in his body language and everything, you know. And then, okay, so the exercise coming back to the object. And you could see like he was like, okay, and the breathing get looser, deeper, and you could see that he was enjoying the situation. And then coming back, my hand started to work. And it was a little bit less for each time. So he going back and forth like this. And then suddenly it clicks. And I still get very like emotional about it because it was so beautiful. Because I could see it when he realized that he was touching my hand as a gift for him, you know. Which was also very beautiful for me because I'm there. I want to give this gift, but it's not received, you know. And I'm waiting for him to receive the gift I'm giving. I'm giving. The gift I'm giving is I'm giving him the permission to use my hand as a way for him to feel pleasure. It's a huge gift, you know, and I'm waiting for him to really receive the gift. And then it clicked, and he really got it. And you could see that his whole face was changing. The breath was changing. I could feel his hand differently on my hands. Suddenly it was not a working mode. you know. It was not me giving a massage. It was he exploring my hand. It was very beautiful. He started to cry. I started to cry. It was super emotional. And it was this profound connection between us. Me giving a gift, feeling that the gift was actually received. He, after been touching people for 20 years, have a shift that he could also touch people as a gift to himself. And what kind of possibility that's opening up for you, know? So, yeah, this is so beautiful.
It's the foundation of the entire structure, and you know, I'm riding on that like on a horse. So I just offer this hand meditation, you know, once a week, and when I have my foundation calls, this is always the start with, so that this is the essence of it, and to kind of detach and detangle the, you know, the position where people look at when they are in action, when they do something. And there are so many implications in that specifically, and you know, I saw that over the years that the indirect route just became kind of diabolic. It was negative, you know. You just do only stuff to get somebody else's appreciation, or you do something to get loved and all that kind of stuff. So that, and I experienced that myself, that I shut that down and made it wrong in myself. But I created really expertise around that, so that I have, over the years, when I developed the Somatic Consent Engagement System, recognized that the indirect route is one of the most essential way of humans to engage with each other.
Yeah, it's so beautiful that we are wired in this way, that I could actually feel pleasure seeing someone else having pleasure. This is amazing that we have that, and I think this is also, but like being a human being. That this is one part of being a human being, you know. But the problem is, like, if you only have that's when it comes. And I think it's kind of natural that the way that you experience, I have a similar. Maybe not in the same way, but similar, that when you're learning something, then you go deep into it, and maybe you become a little bit rigid, and you maybe not seeing other perspectives of it, or so if you're going into the direct route of pleasure, then maybe you feel like, oh, the indirect is, you know, I don't care about that. And maybe this is how it should be, you know, when you're learning things. You need to get more deeper into it. But the beauty is then when you're coming on the other side of being rigid in it and have this experience, then you have something, and then you will look at the other side also in another perspective. So for me, then I could see the indirect route as, wow, this is amazing, you know, that we have this, and also see, like, when you have opening up the direct route of pleasure, so you could feel pleasure just by touching a lemon in your case, or a stone or whatever, and you could feel that your hands become sensitive, then becomes open, receptive, and you are also not like eager to get something, because you can't, you know, I can get this pleasure by myself. So then when you touch someone, your hands are relaxed, sensitive, open, energetic, and relaxed. And that is very nice to have these hands on your body, which means that people will feel more pleasure having the hand on the body, so they will enjoy this even more, and they will have more pleasure. So I will also receive the indirect route of pleasure much more. But the key is to first opening up the direct pleasure? Can I feel pleasure in my hands? And then having this hand on another person's body. So it's really, and it's a win-win, because I will feel more pleasure of giving, and they will have more pleasure of receiving, and I will have more pleasure of seeing them receiving. And so it's really, a win-win situation in every aspect.
Yeah, it's so fascinating that this dynamics in personal engagement is kind of universal. It doesn't matter in our society which application you want to use it for, BDSM, Tantra, body work, any kind of stuff. It works, by understanding that. It's just mapping out a territory that you, as you said the first time, now you can give words to it, and that becomes universal. And why I want to look at is that, we as body workers, we love touch. I love touch, and touch is one of my main languages. And sensuality and feeling, body connection, bonding is, the way how we develop in a very healthy way. But not every human being is touch oriented.
No.
I want to talk a little bit more about the communication aspect and the benefit that people have who like to level up their game of communication. And what's your experience there? What's the essence that you would share with people about the communication part?
I still have a little bit of what we were talking about before.
Please go at this. Yeah.
Because, and I think this is something maybe to have into the communication. Because one thing, when you touch in this stone or lemon or whatever kind of thing you're doing, when I guide people, and then I said, like, were you afraid that this lemon will break up with you, or judge you for doing it wrong, or blame you? And people say, oh no, of course not, and but this is also one thing to understand, that when you're doing this, you opening up the direct route is you physically change things, because your hands will be relaxed and more sensitive and so on. But it also change things in the brain, literally, because the synapses will fire together, and the pleasure center in the brain will, find its way. And that will affect your whole body, because if you feel more pleasure, you feel more relaxed, and you feel more joy. And so this simple thing, touching an object, it affects your sensitivity, your emotions, your brain, and the brain starts to feel more pleasure, and then you start to look at the world in different ways also. So it's how you see the world also. And one thing with this, when you are not afraid of that this lemon will break up with you, you will have this imprint of how does it feel to feel this pleasure and relaxation and being open and see the world in a different way without the fear. And so this is like an imprint you do, like a somatic imprint, and you could then use this when you interact with other people as a reference point. So when you are touching someone and you feel that the fear and the program and everything starts to and you could feel that in your hand. Oh no, this is not how it's supposed to feel, because I know how it feels to feel pleasure without fear. Mm-hmm. This is how it feels to feel pleasure without fear, without the program, without adjusting yourself because you are feared that if you're doing anything wrong, the person will leave you or break up with you. But like when you take this out of the equation and you just feel, oh, so this is how it feels, feeling pleasure without fear. You make that imprint, yeah. And I think that when it comes to communication and interacting with other people, you have these reference points in different ways. So this is like physical, you have this reference point. When it comes to communication, it could be more like you practice and you find out like, how is it, what do I want for this? This is like a simple question, like, how do you want me to touch you? Or like, what do you want? Like, okay, we're having this interaction. And I should, either say, may I do this or will you do that? But like, what do I want here? And when you learn this and you can feel this in your body, so this is how it feels when I connect with that part that wants these kind of things or need this kind of thing. Because I think want and need could also be a little bit different. I don't know, maybe this is a way of you interpret the words differently and so on. But for me, a little bit like, what do you want? I want sugar. Okay, what do you need? I need a hug. So want is more like, I want this, like sensations and dopamine or whatever. Needs is maybe more like underneath this, and it's more about connection, feeling your emotions, and get your needs met. But like, where do you find that? Like, how does it feel? So you can feel this in your body, and then you have that as a reference point. And then you ask for something, and then you receive this. So how does it feel to ask for something you want, communicate it, and then receive it? And then you have that kind of experience. And then when you're talking with people, so this is something maybe you practice in a 3-minute game or in different interactions, or empowering touch, as I call it, or different kind of exercises. And then you have this as a reference point. And then when you go out in the society and talk with people, you know what to look for. You know what you want the communication, in what direction you want it to go. So, so you're speaking more from that part of your body. And it's not just like, I think this is, I think I want this, I think I need this. It's more about like having this somatic experience, or using the somatic consent, where you could actually feel in your body, and then you speak from that part. You're communicating from that part, rather than your thoughts. So I think this is, when it comes to communication, a good thing to have with you.
It's so fascinating, Harry Fedis, who became my mentor and teacher after I changed my perspective on the wheel of consent. So I just felt I just go back to the roots and need to understand what was the essence of the 3-minute game, and what's his background and where he was from. And he said on one point, between two people, when they're together in a room, there's always something they can do with each other.
Yeah.
There's always something that they want, whatever that is. And that's what the communication part is to figure out.
Yeah.
So who are you? What do you want? What would you like? And who's doing the action? And the fascinating part that I love so much is this dynamic about making a statement. So I want something or I need something as a statement, and then either make a request. So will you do such and such, or may I do such and such, or you just make an offer if you notice somebody else needs something but cannot communicate that. So I have learned that this communication part is one of the most freeing, liberating dynamics in speaking desire. So where are you with that one? What's your passion around there? What's the essence that you would like to share?
Yeah, I think that doing this practice, as I said, you embody it more. And I think the touch part, by many people that teach about consent, they talk about touch, but it's not about touch. But touch makes it more concrete because you can feel.
You embody it easily.
Yeah, you embody it and you feel like now, especially if you do it like with a hand, for instance, and now I'm touching someone's hands for me, and now I'm touching the hands for them, and now they are touching my hand for me or for them. So you feel the different things. It's the same hand, and if someone is entering the room, they could see like, oh, these two people are touching their hands, but when you practice, you see these four different interactions, and it becomes very concrete because you feel it in the hand. But this is not about touch. It's about having this understanding when you're interacting with people. And so it goes to, when it comes to having a sharing, for instance, someone wants to talk with you, like, is this talk for me or for you, or do you think I want to hear what you have to say? Are you giving me some information, or that you think I want to have, or you want to give me the information because you want to share that, or is it your need to talk, or do you think I have a need to listening? And it could be totally confusion, and you maybe like talking because you think the other person wants you to talk, so all this helps to clarify things like that, or if you are interacting in other ways. And this also the question of who is doing and who is it for. You do this in an interaction, you do it with touch, you could really feel that, but then you go out in the world and you start to see this everywhere, you know. There's you calling a company, and they're saying, and they're saying like, we are recording this call for your safety, and it's like, I don't think so. Because it might be more that you are recording it for you.
And I feel really unsafe when I know it's recorded.
Yes. Or it could be also like, if you ask me, I don't need that kind of safety. So, so we could skip that, But so you see how it's in this communication, and you could see through a lot of things, and having more like clarity. Is this for me or is it for you? And then you could also interact with this. So having this understanding and feel it in the body and embodying, then you will have a total different communication also. And you see it everywhere, with children, like the parents might say like, oh, give grandma a hug, But who is that for? Is it for the kid? Because you think that the kid needs the hug from the grandma? Or is it for the grandma because you think the grandma needs this hug? And you're using your own child to satisfy grandma? Or is it you as a parent that want to show off and saying like, I had such a nice child, and I have done a better job with this than you did with me. And so is it for the parents? And you are using the child as a way of like, grandma or your mom or whatever who it is, see you in a better way. Yeah. So you start to see this like, and then it becomes very like, oh my God, am I using my child in this way, and what kind of message am I giving this child that it's okay to use your body for other people's satisfaction, so you suddenly see this, everywhere, and yeah, it's just clarification, and then you will change the communication.
Yeah.
You will maybe then instead say to the child, like, do you want to give grandma a hug?
Yeah.
And the child was like, no, and then okay.
This is so fascinating, seeing it from that perspective, and I can't agree more, because it's so powerful that we start all of a sudden to see it everywhere. I remember I just had some glasses where I just drew the cross with the wheel of consent on it. Just like everything became like an X-ray view in life, and this was part of my rigidity that I had. Just like I saw everything from that perspective.
Yeah.
And then I recognized over the years that there are interpersonal engagements in families, in friend connections, in professional connection with colleagues. People don't know about the 3-minute game. And when we see the world from this perspective of the 3-minute game, from this aspects, then we can kind of lock ourselves into this little box. And when I'm going on a festival, for example, and ask, so who knows the 3-minute game? There's mostly, a handful of people, or 2 handful of people knows them. So what I want to say is that the wheel of consent in its structure is a really great visual of the 3-minute game, and you can use it as a kind of a compass when people know they play the 3-minute game, and then you stick to that what you have agreed upon. But there is, in this interpersonal society connection, not always the fact that people have agreed to play the 3-minute game. So there's, let's say from an altruistic perspective, when you go on the street and you see somebody is in need or in help, it's just like from a human perspective. Well, of course I go there and help without them asking me. And this is not a shadow because I'm a pleaser. So there's a lot of implementation from the place of altruism, for example. Giving your gift is one of the things that make you happy when you are a loving person.
Yeah.
Because you care for the environment. It's just like, no, I'm not doing that because nobody has asked me. This is the rigidity that I have experienced, and that I taught when I was in the deepest identification of it. What's your take on that?
I know this. I'm also maybe similar way. Also was like into it, like becoming this nerd and seeing it. And yes, I was also, by your side when you were doing it, so I could see it. But as I said, like maybe like when you learn something new, maybe this is a kind of a process. I've seen it in many other techniques, like the nonviolent communication, for instance, NVC, where people couldn't even take a compliment without starting to shake or cry, because it was, you were saying like, oh, I like what you do, instead of saying like what happens in you. So it was not in the frame of nonviolent communication, and therefore people start to be like panicking. But it was just a friendly comment, appreciation, like whatever it could be. And if you can't see through that, then you are really having a problem being in social interaction with people. And I think it's whatever you do yoga, whatever, and
you need to emerge.
Yeah, one of the most funny thing was there was this person that have become she did like what you call living food. It's what today's will be saying like raw food maybe, or plant-based or whatever. But at that time there was this living food. It was very eating this like basically vegetables and coming from the earth and so on. There was this woman, she was totally into it. And my ex-wife, Susanne, she's a singer, and she said she had a concert, and she said, if someone wants to come up here and feel how it feels to stand here in the limelight and to experience that. And there was this woman coming up, and then she said, "Oh, how do you feel?" It feels good. And she said, "Do you feel nervous, or like all these people are looking at you and being in this spotlight?" And she said, "No, because I'm eating living food." And it was so funny to see, like, okay, so what you eat is a solution for everything. Like, if you're standing in front of people, if you are, it feels like, okay, so you can, how's your economy? It's good because I'm eating living food. And like, okay, how's your relationship? It's good because I'm eating living food. Like, how's your sex life? Good because it's like, you maybe can't apply it on everything in life, and I think this is very few things you can, and especially also the consent work. It's many times you can't apply this, and this is also what Betty Martin also was emphasizing this a lot, but many people didn't even hear it. There's things that it's not even in the consent work, and there's a lot of situations. It's not like if, for instance, if you're in a surgery and you have this doctor that's doing the surgery, it's not like asking the nurse or the people helping, like, are you willing to give me these tools so I can do this surgery? It's like there's no consent there. Maybe they have consent because they work there, but like in this situation, it's like, give me this, do that. There's no time, there's no energy for doing things like that. If you're working as a police or a fire department or whatever, there's so many situations where consent is not like the main thing in the situation.
I do remember that back then, I was starting to study for trauma recovery for other people in my sessions, the polyvagal theory.
Yeah.
And that was, my contribution to the consent community or into the Tantra world, where I said, well, we need to make this distinction if we are on a survival part in our nervous system or if we're on a thriving part of a nervous system.
Yeah.
And what feels safe for one person doesn't feel safe for another person, so this is individually different. And when it comes to consent and you are on the survival part, it's just like, somebody is violating you or is a bully or is attacking you. It's just like, you can't put up a card with a wheel of consent and say, no, you are a perpetrator. So then now you run, you don't argue about consent if somebody else has no broadband, or if, like a firefighter or a police officer or a soldier is protecting somebody, and it's just now there's an emergency, or like as you said in a surgeon in a surgery in a theater, it's like now there's an emergency and you need to operate now. Don't ask for consent, just do it.
Yes.
And this is really important to understand.
Yeah, and
where we are safe and where we are on survive.
Yeah, and also expertise. Like if I go into a dentist and the dentist will say, like, how would you like me to fix your teeth? I was like, I don't know. Don't ask me. Just do it. I trust that you have the knowledge about this. Don't ask me what I want or need. And so, like,
I have a problem. Fix it.
I have a problem. Just fix it. Use your expertise to do it. And in certain situation, yes, it's like does it feel good in this? Do you want this? Or maybe ask like, do you want? There's maybe different options how to do it and so on. But like the actually doing thing is, I don't want him to check in with me what I want at that point. Yeah. So there's many situations where consent is not, and also when you in relationships and interacting with people, there's a part where you are training, but you are look at the different components, and then there is another situation where you actually is just doing it, and you don't want to talk about it or want to do it. So it's similar to if you're, for instance, playing football. There is time when you practice playing football, and you are running through these orange things, and you're doing a lot of different things. Like this is how you practice to then play a game. But if you were doing the things you are doing when you are training for the game at the game, that would be very strange.
You will be out of the show very quick.
Very quickly, you know, and it's also not the same because like when you are a game and you have an audience and people are sharing and clapping their hands and are excited about it, there's another feeling, and this is like, okay, now it's for real. It's not to practice, maybe it's not that fun, it's not that exciting as playing a game, but you need the practice in order to play the game, and you need to practice to actually be excited about the game. And the same goes if in any practice, you know, if you are on stage, you're a singer or whatever, the practice, maybe it's not that exciting, but then when you're standing on stage and you have an audience, then it's a totally different thing. And to understand that it actually is different things. Sometimes you practice and sometimes you do it. And I think this is also when you're doing intimate work or consent or around sexuality. Sometimes you need to practice things and clarify things and communicate things. How is this for you? What happened there? I didn't understand you there. What is your need? What is your preference? What do you like? And exploring this. So you do like maybe the 3-minute game and explore different things. Do I like this? I don't know. Let's try it out. Oh, yeah, actually I want more about this, of this. Or, no, I didn't like it. I want to have less. So you practice this and finding out things and learn about the different components, about giving and receiving and all these different things. And then you have a moment where you are not practicing and you just wordlessly interact with each other and get into the kind of flow state. But in order to get there, maybe you first need to practice. So, yeah, it's different things.
That there is a solution for all of that.
Yeah.
Instead of getting rigid and getting locked in the direct or indirect route or into the, the little box of the wheel of consent, I have developed the Somatic Consent Engagement System based on that reason. So Harry Feddes said to me back then that Betty Martin took the 3-minute game and created the Wheel of Consent, and I took the Wheel of Consent and went back to the 3-minute game and created the Somatic Consent Engagement System. And as you have been in the ambassador year training of Somatic Consent and doing this kind of Swedish ambassadorship, you have as well the offer to the world to just get into the consent work without getting stuck in the rigidity around consent. So that's my I guess, contribution to the world to developing that. So we have created a package for people to start practicing that. Anything you would like to share about that package?
Yeah, I think it's, as I said, it's have been a journey and so on. I just also want to say that I'm still honoring the work of Betty Martin, and I love the 3-minute game in its simplicity. But I think that the somatic consent and the way you have presented, some things becomes, for me, even more clearer and have a deeper understanding around things. For instance, like the giving permission and agreements, and also simplifying even the 3-minute game, instead of starting with a question, going directly to the request, like may I, will you, very simple. Instead of like, how would you like me to touch you? That and thinking about like that requires that the person actually want to touch you, you know. So sometimes this is a little bit off, and it becomes a lot of confusion for people to do it. But if this game is about may I, will you, it's kind of simple. Yeah, and I think that this package we are offering is because we really want to share this kind of knowledge with people. And sometimes the most difficult thing is to how do you get people to understand that this consent is more than just two people saying yes to each other. There's this, what you learn about the different dynamics, you learn about the shadow works, what happened when you are not in this consent, and how this is playing out, and how you can avoid to end up in the shadows. And if you do, which is very common that you do more or less in interaction, then you could have a better awareness of it and then coming back to the consent. So this is an understanding of how the different interaction works, and when you are giving something, how beautiful and magic it could be to give to people. And so it's not, it's not just doing it for being a nice person to other people, but also when you wholeheartedly can do that, and you could really enjoy giving, you know? And then receiving. How do you receive? So look at that and understand that also. So I think that one of the things that is difficult for people to understand is the depth of it, and that they have these different parts. You know, there is gifts in it, there is challenge in it, there is the shadows in it, and there is the joy of giving, there's the joy of receiving, and how do you do all these kind of things? And one thing that I think many people maybe don't think about, like that, that maybe have an idea of the consent work is to be nice to another person. So you're checking in with them so that you got the consent, because you don't want to hurt them, or you don't want to step over their boundaries, which is a good thing, you know, to be nice to other people. But what I think many people are missing is the joy for you to be in this consent work. As I said, like if you could find the joy of giving, it's not just being nice to other people. It's something for you to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't come from a survival mechanism. If I don't give, then I'm not being loved and being rejected from my mom or something.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more about like I could find out where I could wholeheartedly give something.
And giving my gift because
Giving my gift.
I know my gift.
I know my gift, and I know the difference between receiving a gift and giving a gift, because I have practiced this. And I could feel in my hands, and I can feel in my body the difference. If you don't have the direct route open, you don't know actually when you touch someone. Are you giving or are you like doing it for you? If you don't know the difference, how do you know the difference if you are giving or receiving or taking from someone or stealing even? But when you find that and you learn how to communicate and got the consent, and you could just then dive into the experience of it. So, for instance, instead of saying, "Can I give you a massage?" and when you actually mean, "I would like to touch your body because I would like to enjoy your body." And so maybe you don't know that this is an option, not even mentally, you don't know the concept of the indirect route. Or emotionally, you don't think that this is something you can't ask or you shouldn't ask or whatever. So you say, "Can I give you a massage?" But you want to touch the other person, so it's actually for you.
But you think this is wrong. When there is a judgment, you won't do that.
Yeah. So you start to touch this person, and then you want to come to the juicy part. You not just want to be massaging the neck forever. So you want to touch the other person. So maybe you are thinking like, when can I go to other body parts? When will we be ready for that? When will the other person be ready for that?
So having an agenda.
You have an agenda, and I'm trying to figure out how to follow that agenda. And you are afraid maybe if I'm going too fast, the person will maybe react on that, and what happened then? Will the person be angry or see that I am like doing this wrong or breaking up with me or judge me or whatever? Like, so you have this hidden agenda and thinking of when to take the steps. So you are up in the head and thinking. And then you are afraid if this is not working well, this has different consequences. So you're acting out of fear. So you are up in the head and feeling fear when you are touching someone. I don't think that this is pleasurable. It can't be really pleasurable when you are up in the head, thinking, following an agenda, following a program, and being in your fear. But with consent, then you ask, "Hey, I like your body. Can I touch your body in this way?" And you get the consent. Then you can throw away the hidden agenda. You could throw away the fear of what happened if you were following this agenda. And instead, when you have the permission to touch this person the way you want, then you could really dive into that and enjoy it. You don't have to be up in your head. You don't have to be in fear. Because you have got the consent from the other person. You are in an action where you together have agree on this thing. So then you can enjoy it.
And then even if it feels uncomfortable, then you have as well the opportunity to stay in that discomfort and release the tension that the discomfort has caused.
Yes, or you could talk about it because you have the language. And saying like, "Hey, so I gave you the permission to touch me in this way, but now you're touching me in this way, and I haven't give you the consent of that. Oh, sorry, I forgot about that, or sorry, I got one thing led to another, and this. So thank you for saying that, and then coming back to the consent, and then coming back to, okay, so diving deeper into this and really feel how it feels to feel this pleasure in your hands, in your body, and so on. And knowing that in consent world, there's nothing like one thing lead to another. This is like when I'm having clients, or like in something happening in the festival or whatever, and they have this crisis. This is one of the most common thing, that one thing led to another, and then they're ending up in a place that one of them or both of them doesn't want to be. But with the consent, it's like it's very clear. You go to a certain point, and then it's stopped there.
And you talk about it before.
And you talk about it before, and that creates a feeling that you feel safe in a container. And then in that container, you can really dive into a deep experience. So the consent work is not just to being nice to another person, it's the foundation for you to have mind-blowing, ecstatic, pleasurable experience. So it's also for you. And that it's when the magic happens, when two people being nice to each other, great, perfect. We want that. We celebrate that. But also when two people are like getting into this experience that they can do it for them as a way to have this pleasurable, mind-blowing experience. And when two people are having that as a focus, like alternate, okay, now it's your turn and now it's my turn, and then maybe eventually from that experience of doing that, get into the flow state where both are just having that focus, then it really becomes interesting.
Yeah, I would like to talk a little bit about the package.
Yes.
You know, the interesting thing is about this course that we have created and that we have produced on your side and on my side. It comes from, I don't know how many workshops we have done around it, and we know that by heart we have explored, experienced. For professionals, individuals, and couples, really learning that. And some people come into this workshop and have the experience with their partner on their own, and the workshops normally cost something based on it's for professional or individuals or couples, something between 500 and 1,000 euros, something like that. And so we have created this online course, the Foundation of Pleasure, where the course got marked with about 397 euros in a way. And the package at the moment is that we give that for 10% of this cost out, including a 30-minute discovery course. So if people diving into that course, experiencing that and figuring out, okay, I just need to have some conversation, some questions. I need to talk to a human being. How is that? How can I deal with this? That they can reach out, including this package of the course, having a 30-minute kind of check-in call with you, with me, with the person who is offering this. I'm excited about that. I think people will have a massive benefit out of that. And anything you would like to share on top of that?
Yeah, I think that both you and I had done this work a long time, and the intention is to teach people, share this with other people, as many as possible, because there's this, we want to spread this into the world. And sometimes money, it could get in a way of that, and I don't think money has been the motivation for you or for me or many of the people that do this kind of work. They understand that this is something that we as human will benefit from, and especially when you look at the world how it is right now. We need to get these good tools out in order to contribute to create a better world. And so I don't want to let money be in the way for people not taking this course. So if people feel that you have looked at this and maybe you are interested in this online course and feel like, oh, maybe it was a little bit a stretch for me economically, then we have this offer now for those people that here's your chance to get this as a very low cost and as a way to dive into this work and start practicing it.
It was a pleasure and honor to have you here in my podcast today talking about consent. And it's, it's like the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Well, when people start to dive into that, there's so much more to discover and to explore as well, how to make a profession out of that. You as a sexability coach, and I do as well the empowerment session certification for practitioner. There's so many ways that people can dive into that, becoming a counselor in relationship counseling, and teaching consent.
Yeah, and integrated this in the word, in the work they already do. So this is also one thing that I do, and maybe the thing that I feel most passionate about is that teaching facilitators how to integrate the consent work into the work that they already do. So yeah, I'm happy to coach and also in festivals and so on. I always have this kind of little workshop when I collect a small group of people that is working with this, and to see how could you integrate this knowledge into the work that you do.
Yeah. I like this one sentence that you said, that, specifically seeing so many facilitators and festivals and seeing that there are more and more participants actually starting to live up to the essence of this value. Can you say the way how you say that there are more?
No, I don't remember, but today is beautiful workshop leaders having a beautiful work, but maybe they need to add this consent awareness into it, in the same way that some people are working in this field and they maybe need to be more trauma informed in order to continue with the work, because more people are starting to get more aware about how trauma works. In the same thing with consent, people start to get more into that. So sometimes I know that in the room, for instance, in the Sexsibility Festival and so on, that some of the participants having more knowledge of the consent work than the facilitator, and I think that the workshop leaders needs to step up a little bit, otherwise it'd be a little bit awkward that you are saying and guiding people in a way that the participant feels is not professional or in line with what they want. And yeah, I hear people going to different events or different workshops and so on, coming back to me and talk about this kind of things. Oh, I went to this workshop, like 2-day workshop with someone having, and I could almost not stand being there because the person was saying and doing this and this and this. And it's so unnecessary, because it's not that the workshop leader is doing anything wrong or not doing a good work, but
they have just not lived up yet to the depth
Yeah.
that is out there by now. Yeah.
And that makes people getting annoyed or feeling, they want to leave the workshop or closing down or.
All right, so with that said, for individuals, couples, and intimacy professionals, for facilitator and practitioner out there, that this work is uplifting, and again, it has this 10% of the original price. It's about 40 euros for the course plus half an hour live call on Zoom. And for people to live up to that, it's a short time offering. And for everybody who is interested, go and get it.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for being here on the podcast. And
thank you.
I hope we reach a lot of people.
Yes. I hope the consent awareness reach a lot of people.